Welcome back to the channel. Guys, I finally figured out what I'm gonna make my prime content for the next few months, right? If I'm gonna be uploading a video every single day, I don't just want to be uploading for the sake of uploading. I want to upload so that you guys can get some value from these videos. So what I'm gonna start doing is start killing two birds with one stone. Hence, well, let me explain myself. It's not as violent as it sounds. I've also wanted to get into reading, and I've been trying to make it a consistent habit for the past few months, but I'm just not motivated enough to sit down after a tough day or after a hard day and just read. Sometimes I could just scroll for hours and then be like, do I want to get to reading? I have no motivation to do it, right? So to build that motivation, I'm gonna use these videos as my goal that I can only achieve through reading. So what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start reading a self-help book, and every single day I'm going to try to finish like one portion of that book. And once I'm done with that portion, I'm going to sit down and make these videos about what I've read. So you guys won't have to go ahead and spend 30, 35 minutes, 40 minutes reading what I just read, because I'll explain it in as much detail as I can. Obviously, you guys can go ahead, buy the book, and read everything if you guys want to. Never gonna stop you. I think reading is a brilliant habit to subscribe to. But yeah, you guys won't have to do it if I'm doing it for you. And I also think that these self-help books are things that you go back to, and instead of going back and reading the entire chapter over again, I feel like I can just come back to this video and I can just watch myself explain what I read in my own words a few months back or a few years back, right? So that's why I'm going to be making these videos. And yeah, if you guys like it, stick around. If you guys don't, you guys can leave. Anybody can leave. Everybody can leave. No, I'm kidding. I love you guys. Please don't leave. All the 12 people that watch these videos, I really need you. Stay, watch my videos. A lot of people left me already. So we're going to start today. And I've been reading this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie, or whatever, however you say his name. And I'm going to start talking about this book, and I'm going to go from cover to cover and explain this book over the next few months or weeks, as long as it takes me to finish it off. And once I'm done, I'll put it all in a playlist, and then you guys can go ahead and watch the entire thing, binge it, whatever. They're probably not going to be more than 15 minutes, like each video is not going to be more than 15 minutes long. You can always speed it up, listen to me explain the thing, and yeah, just get like 30 minutes worth of reading within 8 to 9 minute period, watching me explain it. Of course, you guys will love watching me explain it because I'm also mad good looking. Anyways, we will start off with part 1 of the book, which is fundamental techniques in handling people. And the first portion for that part 1 is if you want to gather the name of that chapter is, if you want to gather honey, don't kick over the beehive. And the main takeaway from this chapter, honestly, is stop condemning people, stop complaining about people, and stop criticizing people, right? Stop it. Because no good will ever come of it. No good has ever come of it, and no good will ever come of it, right? And obviously the writer talks about a bunch of stories. I'm just going to mention a few of them, and he mentions a few of the individuals that, avoided the habit of condemning, criticizing, and complaining, and it garnered a lot of success for them. So the first story he talks about is about Two Gun Crowley, a criminal in 1931 who shot up a cop and was essentially a killer on the loose in New York, and was taken down by the police in 1931. And the last letter he wrote in his girlfriend's apartment while he was bleeding to death, he said, "Under my coat is a weary heart, a kind one that would do nobody any harm." Now, keep in mind, this guy's a killer and was known as Two Gun Crowley because he could just shoot. He was just shooting people in the street or wherever he would see them. And he was there to justify that his heart was clean and his heart was a kind one that would do nobody any harm. And then, the book goes on to talk about different criminals who feel the same way, that they don't criticize themselves. They don't believe that they've done anything wrong in their life, and that whatever they did, whether it was breaking a safe or whether it was pulling the trigger and killing somebody, it was justifiable under the circumstances they were in. So they don't hold themselves accountable for the wrong action. Even if they feel that the action they took was wrong, they will justify it or rationalize it because they're only human. That's what human beings do, right? I think the book also talks about Al Capone, who was, if I'm not wrong, one of the biggest gang leaders in the U.S. and probably killed a bunch of people and provided a bunch of drugs and was responsible for thousands, if not millions, of deaths. Thousands, I think. Thousands is a good number to go by. But he was responsible for 1,000 deaths, and he said that he was a public benefactor, right? He truly believed that he was a public benefactor, and that him getting, executed was a punishment for him just being a good human being and providing benefits to the public, right? So again, coming back to the point, if criminals, if people who sold drugs, shot people, killed people, raped people, stole from people, don't believe that they did anything wrong, then what about the people we come into contact with? What about the people we try to criticize? What about the people that we are trying to change through condemnation or through criticism or by complaining about them, right? It's not going to do any good because people don't criticize themselves for anything. No matter how wrong it may be, they will always justify their actions. And that if they're not ready to criticize themselves, then who are you? No matter how important you are, you will never be good enough to them to take criticism from you, right? You get what I mean? Even if they say it to you, they don't truly want that criticism coming from you, right? No matter how important you are to that human being, no matter how straight up you want to be with that human being, criticism coming from anybody is futile. Like it will do no good, It just wounds a person's pride. It hurts their sense of importance, and it arouses resentment, right? So criticism is not the way to go. The book keeps talking about it. It never incurs lasting changes. It incurs resentment only. And as human beings, we tread for approval. Like we and as much as we tread for approval, we dread condemnation, right? The book also talks about this experiment that was done on animals, and it showed that animals responded better to a reward for doing something rather than condemnation for not doing that thing, right? And that translates directly to humans as well. And anyone, we criticize or condemn will end up condemning us in return. This is usually what happens when you criticize someone. They will condemn you in return, they'll criticize you back, or they will find a way to justify themselves and garner sympathy and pity for their circumstances, right? They will tell you why they did what they did, and that why will garner a lot of sympathy, or at least they'll try to garner sympathy through that why, and justify it to themselves. They'll basically lie to themselves and garner their own sympathy for their own actions, right? And the individuals that the book talks about that learned from these mistakes are two. The book does mention a few other individuals, but I don't think they held the value that these two individuals held. So I'm just going to talk about these two individuals. The first one being Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest leaders the world has ever seen, one of the most followed human beings, and one of the most influential human beings in history, right? He learned to not criticize very early on in his life. So initially, he used to criticize a bunch of people. He used to write letters, mock them openly, would sometimes even, write letters or publish letters anonymously to just mock or criticize somebody. And this one time, he criticized this politician called James Shield, who had a very sensitive ego, and it rubbed him the wrong way. So he went after Abraham Lincoln, challenged him to a duel. Lincoln didn't want to accept the duel, but he knew he had to because that was the only way to save his honor. Agreed to the duel. When they were about to duel, their seconds, separated them, and the duel didn't go ahead. But he learned very early on in his life that mocking somebody and criticizing them is a very wrong thing to do, and it could potentially come back and bite you in the ass, right? So he stopped doing that, and even when his wife would criticize someone, he would specifically say to her that don't criticize them. They're just what we would be under similar circumstances. So he started sympathizing with people and understanding why they did what they did because of their circumstances, right? Even if he wouldn't agree with their actions, he would try to understand and try to forgive if the actions were forgivable, because of the person's circumstances, right? And I think Confucius, that's how you say the guy's name. He said it, and it's mentioned in the book, that you can't complain about the snow on your neighbor's roof when your own doorstep is unclean. And I think this is where the book now talks about the solution to the problem, right? So if you're trying to change someone, and if you're trying to help somebody, you don't criticize them. You don't complain about it. You don't condemn them, no matter how wrong it is in your eyes and according to your values, right? You put yourself in their shoes. I've talked about this in a previous video as well. You put yourself in their shoes. You listen without judgment, because that is what will eventually change their mind. The fact that you're ready to listen to them. So you listen without judgment. You take in what they have said to you. You try to sympathize with them, and instead of condemning people, you try to understand them. You try to figure out why they do what they do, and that will be a lot more profitable, right? So again, I'll start from the beginning. The solution to fix someone or to help somebody that is doing something that is egregious in your eyes is not to criticize them. Do not complain about it. Do not criticize them. Instead, listen to them without any judgment. Instead of condemning them, try to understand them. Try to figure out why they do what they do. And that would be more profitable, because it would breed sympathy and kindness. And I think those are two things that is much needed in this world. Sympathy and kindness for people, right? And instead of trying to help them, we go back to that quote that we can't complain about our neighbors or the snow on our neighbor's roof when our own doorway is unclean. So clean your own doorway, guys, right? Listen to them without judgment. Try to understand them, why they do. Try to forgive them if you can. And then try to fix your own life. Try to make your own life perfect. And show them with action rather than criticizing them, complaining about it, and talking about the stuff that they do. Show them with action why your life or why your way of doing things is better than theirs, because it garners better results, right? Show it to them. Actions speak louder than words. That will motivate them to listen to you more, see what you're doing differently, because you've listened to them without judgment. Hence, they're more open to you. Hence, they're more closer to you. They want to be closer to you because you're the only person that listens to them without any judgment. And then set up your life in such a way that shows them that your way is better than theirs, so they can change their ways, right? I think that's the best way to go about it. That's what the book talks about. And the book also talks about Benjamin Franklin and talks about why he was so successful. And the reason that Benjamin Franklin was so successful was that he was quoted of saying that the reason for his success is that he would never speak ill of any man and speak all the good that he knows of everybody, right? So don't criticize them, don't speak ill of them, and only speak about their good things, which will make people like you. And that is what this book is all about, making people like you. It will make people like you, gravitate towards you. Listen to them. Do not judge them. Do not judge their actions. Do not condemn them. Show them the better way. Show them the right way by fixing yourself, by improving yourself. And that's what self-improvement is all about, right? You fix yourself. You have other people listen to you. You have other people like you. You have other people see how your life is better than theirs. And then they change their ways to match yours, because you've shown how your actions led to better results than theirs. That's it. That's the point of this video, guys. That's what I took away from the first chapter. You guys can go ahead and read it, but I think I've done a brilliant job explaining it. So this video is one of the best videos I've ever made. I don't think it'll garner that many views, but who cares? Whoever wants value will come to my channel. Until next time, I love you guys.